Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have a special book news video where I will be discussing 3 breaking news book-related stories from fantasy, science fiction, and horror authors. I recently broke some news on this channel talking about the new Timothy Zahn contract for Baen Books, where he will be writing new novels for Baen, and that was just a wonderful opportunity, and I got really good positive feedback on that video, so I wanted to continue trying to work on making book news videos whenever I can, especially if it has to do with book news that I am familiar with and with authors that I like. I obviously can't cover book news for every single author out there, or even all the authors I've ever read. This is just going to be me covering authors that I am following and familiar and understanding what they're doing. So I have 3 big stories to discuss today. So why don't I get into the first one? On his various social media accounts, Kevin J. Anderson revealed that he is publishing a new Dune novel with Brian Herbert. This is another one of their Dune prequels that they have been writing. They have written about a dozen such prequels over the past 2 decades, and this newest one will release very soon to the Dune Part 2 release date. So his Facebook announced post reads as follows, quote, "Formal announcement for our next Dune novel from Tor Books. Princess of Dune will tell the intertwined backstories of 2 of the most important women in the life of Paul Muad'Dib, Princess Irulan and Shani, growing up in dramatically different circumstances, but the underpinnings of their lives are reflections of each other. Brian and I have been collaborating on this exciting new novel since last April, and they have just finished the 4th draft. Expected publication date is November 2023. I, for one, am very excited about this announcement for a couple of reasons. First of all, I believe that publishing new Dune novels is an excellent way to keep the fandom alive and to keep discussions of the Dune franchise in the popular zeitgeist. This is also great release time because as the movie comes out, people will be thinking about the Dune franchise and might be more willing to buy more books from the franchise. So I believe this is a good plan on the part of Tor Publishing, who has published several of the most recent Kevin J. Anderson and Brian Herbert collaborations in the Dune franchise. I have only read one of their collaborations so far, the first Dune House Atreides book. I had a blast reading it, and Kevin Anderson and Brian Herbert just have this style that I really enjoy reading. And so I believe that I will enjoy this book. I don't believe I will be able to read it on release date because I have other books of theirs to read, but I will certainly be following this story and will be reading this book eventually. Our second story today comes from another author that I follow, that if you follow this channel you are familiar with, John Jackson Miller, who has shared some interesting information on his upcoming Star Trek hardcover novel, Strange New Worlds: The High Country. On his Facebook page, Mr. Miller revealed that the book will now have maps. His announcements reads as follows, quote, "It's my birthday, and my gift to you is this. News. When I heard last April that my Star Trek Strange New Worlds novel was delayed till this February due to supply chain issues, it was a bad day. Then I realized we could use the time to add something fun. And we did. Star Trek Strange New Worlds: The High Country, releasing February 21st from Gallery Books, has pages with maps. The novel takes place on a single, very strange new world, where Pike and his crew are cut off from technology. They rely on maps generated from the locals. And now, you'll see them too. Years ago, we added maps to the Star Wars Lost Tribes of the Sith book. I think it's part of why the book remains popular. I shouldn't have been surprised when that book's editor okayed the maps. Shelley Shapiro drew countless maps for Del Rey's titles. So I figured, let's do it again. I've already drawn up my own maps for the High Country's action. From there, my pal game designer James Mishler helped me winnow them down into what we used. We included maps in 3 different styles, reflective of how the locals see their work, and a triptych follows the action. The folks at Gallery and Paramount have helped make the maps happen for the book. And the After Trek narrators Robert Petkoff and January Lavoie suggested to me it was possible to include the maps in the supplemental PDF with audiobook purchases. Simon & Schuster is making that happen too. Everyone can follow along. I don't know if it's the first Trek novel to have maps. I'm just glad that we've got them. This strange new world is real to me, and I want it to be to everyone. Best birthday gift I can get is a lot of pre-orders. Let's get this book to open big. So, I am, of course, a huge fan of John Jackson Miller. I've read every novel he's released. He's my favorite media tie-in author and my favorite Star Trek author in particular. And I think that he just has a writing style I really appreciate. And I think that this is a good move. When you have a hardcover novel released, most Star Trek books were mass markets and then they moved them to trade paperbacks. But now they're doing some of them, the Picard novels and the Strange New World novels, as hardcovers. And this is a premium format. And when you release something as a premium format, you want it to have premium content. And adding in a map design always, I think, makes a book more experiential and makes it more fun for the reader. If you don't want to use the maps, you don't have to, but if you do want to use the maps, they add an extra visualization, they add an extra understanding and layered of depth. And not only are these maps of the locations so you know where the characters will be, these also have added benefit that these are as if the maps had been drawn by the people of the land, as if they were in-universe maps. Similar to how Brandon Sanderson has in-universe maps for his Stormlight Archive novels. So I think this is wonderful news. I think that's it's good that Simon & Schuster is making premium content and that they're trying to step up their game in their publishing. And that they recognize that they should not have continued to delay the book. The book was delayed for too long, and there's already too few Star Trek books coming out, so there's little reason for them not to make sure to publish the books, and so now they are adding a little bit more to make it worth the fans' while. So I'm very excited for this development from John Jackson Miller. Our third and final story comes from Dan Wells and Brandon Sanderson, who have been in collaboration recently on their Dark One franchise. The prequel novella, written and produced as a 6-part audio series, released on Audible earlier this month. However, Dan Wells revealed in his newsletter that the Dark One novel itself is delayed. His announcement reads as follows, quote, I continue to work on the Dark One novel. Last month, Brandon and I decided to scrap major portions of the characterization and start from scratch. So I've spent the last 3 weeks or so rebuilding the novel, the book, from the ground up. It's been slow, but I finally feel like I've gotten over the hurdle of change and everything's working really well. I definitely won't be done by next month, but I am progressing. I'm also still writing Moonbreaker. I just turned in episode 6, and I'm working on revisions. I am very excited for this novel, and I understand that sometimes there are delays. This is one of those books that has been in discussions for years. I remember when they first came on and started doing their Intentionally Blank program, their podcast, back in mid-2021, they were talking about working on Dark One. And I believe even on the live streams from 2020, they even discussed doing the Dark One novel. So they've been working on this project for several years now. And so we had gotten the revelation a few months ago from Dan Wells' newsletter that he had turned in the book to Brandon and that Brandon was working on the rewrites. And so it looked like positive progress was being made. And the fact that the Dark One prequel novella released as a 6-part audio series, the fact that that was releasing in this January was also a good indication that they were moving forward. So the fact that they're basically having to scrap portions of the book and rewrite a lot is disheartening to me, but I hope that we will still get the book in orderly fashion. I believe it will most likely come out in 2024, but maybe they'll get it out faster. But with how many projects Brandon Sanderson is working on, and Dan Wells, now that he's working with Brandon Sanderson at his company, Dragonsteel, it's understandable that this book will be delayed, and it's probably for the best. So those are the 3 news stories that I wanted to cover here. If you followed them, which news story are you most interested in? If you are, are there any positive developments or negative developments you see here? Do you not like the books being released? Or do you not think that the books should have maps? Or tell me all your thoughts in the comment section down below. I love having discussions about the news. And please subscribe to my channel where you can find more book news, book reviews, book rankings, and even more content. So until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.